that was developed by humans themselves, not by any other real metrics other than how we perceive other people to be different from ourselves. But I think that before we get into the complexities of dealing with race, especially in a country like America, it all just comes back to starting with acknowledgement. I think for most people, we just want to be acknowledged in our own personal experiences that we've had with the world. And so instead of thinking I need to have all the answers before I talk about or engage in a conversation about race, or even try to think about something as complex as the concept of race in America, we really need to start just with acknowledging some of the biases that we may have internalized, really the way that people maybe interpret us and how that's actually helped us or hindered us in our lives. I used to work with interns. I remember the first time that I was supervising at all in my position as a therapist. These were all graduate interns, and all of them were Black. And that did intimidate me to some degree, because I thought, well, first of all, this is a new job for me. And second of all, what if I miss something? What if I say something that's insensitive or wrong or actually racist? That really freaked me out. But I had to take a deep breath. I had to collect myself and think about what would I like my interns to know about me when it comes to the topic of race. I started off the conversation by acknowledging my own privilege, and not in a way to apologize for anything, but more in a way to acknowledge that my life experiences, because of the privilege I was assigned by how other people see me, that those things may affect my ability to be helpful sometimes, or to fully understand what they may be presenting to me. And so I simply said, not so simple actually, I was sweating, I was so scared, probably trembling, honestly, when I brought this up, because it's very uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable for me to bring this topic up. But I tried my best to just start with an acknowledgement, that I acknowledge that, I myself technically can check a box for a minority because I am Puerto Rican. My father is of Puerto Rican descent. But I do recognize that I've benefited from white privilege my entire life. And therefore, I just may not have the skills always to understand 100% of what you're bringing to me in your work as a therapist. And that's not to say that anyone in any field can't kind of say something similar, in the sense that our bosses or the people that mentor or manage us, they don't know everything. There's a lot that we can learn from the people that we supervise. I think it was disarming in two ways for my relationship with my interns. One way, in that I hope that made them more comfortable bringing up situations that they maybe had explained to me, or that I wouldn't know exactly how they felt, that they could really take their own word for it, and that I would listen and hear them. But I also think it was disarming in the sense that I didn't believe I knew everything, that there was something that I could really gather and learn from being their mentor and their supervisor. And there were so many things that I learned. Obviously, anybody in a position of management, even though their job is to mentor and to regulate and to teach and all of that and supervise the people that work for them, it's also their job to learn and to grow as a professional themselves with the process of supervising other people. So I think it was a really helpful conversation, and I did have a lot of my interns throughout, all the interns that I supervised, all from different backgrounds, all who had different experiences. Even if we identified similarly in terms of our race, there were still so many opportunities to learn. That's really bad coffee, but I'm still gonna drink it. When I had this conversation with one of my interns, again, nervously sweating, panicking inside, trying to just breathe as I spoke. So it was really stressful for me, not gonna lie. But she actually said thank you, which I thought was a little kind of I guess it was good, but I also was surprised that something as simple as that would kind of get a thank you back. I didn't think she needed to thank me, but she did say thank you, and she said, no one's ever said that to me. And, especially as a therapist, but I think this kind of goes across the board really to any industry. We do talk about things that are really personal. I actually had a situation with several of my interns where they experienced racism with their clients. Their clients making pretty kind of awful statements to them, and of course there's confidentiality and all of that, and we are there to help our clients, but they have opinions too that can be hurtful. And I was really happy that she felt comfortable enough to share that experience with me. But going back to the thank you, she was thankful that I acknowledged that there are, different experiences, and that she could maybe even bring it up to me if I said something that kind of, was hurtful, or not even just hurtful, but didn't really have the full picture, wasn't educated in kind of what I was saying, because it hasn't been my experience. I think that acknowledgement alone is so important. It can be so helpful in making that connection to another person, just acknowledging what their experiences have been and that ours have been different. And you don't have to be that different from somebody. You could acknowledge that your sister's experience was different than your own growing up, that your parents may have treated you differently than your sibling. That's how simple it can be, even if you're a twin, I'm sure Mary Kate and Ashley had this conversation with some therapists about, how Mary Kate kind of got the shorter end of the stick. I mean, you saw what happened, but anyway, God bless her, I love them. But the point being that acknowledgement can be the simplest, easiest way to recognize somebody else's experience without shoving in your own. And we can have different opinions, and we could even maybe try to understand where each other's opinions or experiences come from. And especially when it has something to do, so heavy, like a topic like race, it can be just as simple as saying, wow, I've never had that experience myself. Thank you for sharing that. And I guess, this is what makes the world go round, the fact that we have had two different experiences. And by hearing your story, it may even help me look at the world a little bit differently in terms of being grateful for what I've experienced, but also maybe in terms of figuring out what the work is that we need to do. How can I maybe be a part of that change? That's a more far off concept than this, but I think acknowledgement is the perfect place to start.